So good day guys. So in this lecture of circuit analysis, I'll be explaining the Kirchhoff voltage law. The Kirchhoff voltage law. So what does Kirchhoff voltage law state? It states that the summation of voltage in a loop must be equals to 0. The summation of voltage in a loop, the summation of voltage in a loop must be equals to 0. So this is what we call the Kirchhoff voltage law. But there are some concepts that we have to understand in order to use Kirchhoff voltage law and Kirchhoff current law to analyze circuits in physics. Now let's take a look at this. Let's say I have a circuit in this manner. This is a circuit. In this circuit, we have a battery that contains two cells, and we have resistors. These are resistors. Let's say this is R1, and let's say this is R2. And let's assume I want to use Kirchhoff's law to analyze this circuit. The first thing I have to do is I have to pick the direction of my loop. Now there is freedom of direction. You can pick any direction. Just make sure you analyze the circuit very well or appropriately. So if I want to analyze, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pick direction of my loop. Let's say I'm picking my loop this way. Let's say this is the direction of my loop. Okay, let's assume that this is A, B, C, and D. So let's say the direction of my loop is what? Is C, B, A, and D. So my loop is moving anti-clockwise. Okay. Now the first thing we have to note in this circuit is that it simply means the loop is moving in this direction, and let's assume that the current is moving in this direction also. Now if you look at the cell, this short line is called the negative terminal, and this long line is called the positive terminal. At the negative terminal we have the low potential. At the positive terminal we have the high potential. So when the current is moving from the negative terminal to the positive terminal, the voltage in that cell is said to be positive. It's said to be potential increase. But when the current is moving from the positive terminal to the negative terminal, there is a potential drop, and the voltage is said to be negative. So if you look at this circuit, you will see that the current is moving from the negative to the positive. It simply means the voltage in this battery must be positive. There have a positive potential difference here, and that's the first thing we have to take note. So let's say the potential difference of this battery is V, meaning it must be positive. So I'm having a positive potential difference. Let's move on. Look at this resistor here. In order to determine the potential difference or the potential drop in the resistor, we have to consider the direction of the loop and the direction of the current. So in a resistor, when the direction of the loop is the same as the direction of the current, the potential difference in the resistor is negative. But when the direction of the current is in opposite direction to that of the loop, the potential difference in the resistor is said to be positive. So when you look at this circuit, you will notice that the current and the loop are moving in the same direction in this resistor. Hence, the potential difference in this resistor is going to be negative. And that is why I'm going to have negative of IR1 according to Ohm's law. And when you look at this resistor also, the current moving into it and the loop are also moving in the same direction. And that's why I'm going to have minus IR2. And according to Kirchhoff voltage law, the summation of voltage in a loop must be equal to 0. And that is why we are going to equate all this to be equal to 0. So I can now say V minus IR1 minus IR2 is equal to 0. Then when I transfer all these guys to the other side, it becomes negative, positive. So that will be V equals IR1 plus IR2. And this is the Kirchhoff voltage law for this particular circuit. And that is basically how we make use of Kirchhoff law to analyze circuits in physics. In my next class, I'll be solving a question. Thank you guys.